All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Global Reality. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. This is the Wednesday, September 26th, 2018 edition of the broadcast. And yes, today I actually do know what day it is. Imagine that. So good to be with you here. This, of course, is the 11th anniversary edition of the broadcast. Today, yes, indeed, the Global Reality first aired. The first show 11 years ago today in 2007. And that was September 2007 was a big month for me. Maybe the one of the biggest that I've had since I've been doing this stuff, because a lot happened that month that set the course for everything I've done since, really. Because I came out with my first film that month, September 2007, was the release of the new 9/11 New World Rising film that I put out. It was my first film. And then a couple of weeks later, I started this show, and we've been going ever since. And that same week that I started the show, I had my first ever guest on the program, and it was Professor Peter Dale Scott. And that was when I found out about the CNP, the Council for National Policy. So that blew everything wide open for me, because at that time I was, I was very much thinking that this was kumbaya, and we were sitting around holding hands, and this was a real movement, and everybody was really out for the truth. I believed it. It's still serendipitous that within the first few days of starting out the show, I found out all that was a lie, and that a lot of these so-called truth tellers and people who were claiming to be putting out the truth were nothing but the sort. And it blew my paradigm apart worse than, the first time when you first start waking up, because that's kind of a gradual thing, You kind of, when you're first waking up to this stuff, it's a gradual thing that happens over time, and you learn more and more, and then that builds up your worldview on this stuff and how you look at it and your perception of it. As soon as I heard about this CMP thing, and as soon as I heard Peter Dale Scott say that, they're more powerful than the CFR, and I was just dumbfounded, because, literally I'd spent so many years researching before that, and had never really come across the group. I'd come across some stuff in my JFK research previously that did connect to it, but I didn't have the context to know why it was important. I came across stuff like about the John Birch Society, and knew they were not to be trusted even before I found out about the CMP stuff. Because when I was in the 9/11 Truth Group in Dallas, we had a shady guy that kind of showed up one time, and he was, the John Birch Society is all behind the 9/11 Truth stuff. You could just tell. I got the immediate vibe from this guy that he was, he was there on a data mining, information collecting mission. I'd already known they were connected and had connections to people like H.L. Hunt and stuff like that, But I didn't have any idea about the CMP stuff. And hearing that, it indeed, the first offices and everything they had was here in Dallas. It was a mind-blowing thing. By the way, I want to welcome everybody watching on the video portion of this. I'm doing a special video edition. The video, you probably didn't hear the intro on the video, because the video just now, I don't know for what reason, just now kicked on. So, hey, there we go. But the first 4 minutes you can hear just the audio of. So anyway, you'll now see me if you're watching on YouTube. You're probably wondering why you just got audio and now there's a video, because the video didn't kick on till now. So hey, how are you? Good to see you. I don't do video broadcasts very often, but I thought since this is the 11th year anniversary, I would do a special one here for you guys. Then the first 4 minutes got shaved off, but that's all right. That's all right. We're here nonetheless. So, yeah, in that first month in September of 2007, I put out my first film, started a radio show, and then found out paradigm crushing information about the CMP, and that's led me to making 2 films on the subject now, plus the spellcasters and all the rest of that. But yeah, my first film, 9/11 New World Rising, I got to tell you, I had no idea what I was doing. None whatsoever. I just knew I wanted to make a film. It wasn't even supposed to be a 9/11 film originally. It was just going to be a film on secret societies and whatnot, and I'd been working on that for a couple of years up to that point. But then I decided not to do that. It just didn't seem as pressing as other things at the time. So I shifted into making a 9/11 film because I started noticing that I had all this 9/11 stuff, and there had been some movies made up to that point, but at that time, a lot of the stuff that was in that film, it's old information now. It's old news. But I mean, at the time when I first put out that movie, there was a lot of stuff in there and a lot of content in that film that hadn't been put in any other films yet. I mean, it got put in a million other films afterwards. So, it means nothing now. But again, as a lot of things in life, when you're looking back on things historically, you got to put yourself in the time and place for things. And so, yeah, that film for me was definitely the right thing at the right time. It was the film I should have made at that time. And I'm glad that I did it. And I'm glad that it at least, got a lot of attention. And the other thing I'm most proud of about that film is that I still get people, and I guess I didn't think about it at the time that would ever even happen, but I can't tell you how many people I've had through the years tell me that was the first 9/11 film they saw. And I got woken up to 9/11 true stuff from 9/11 New World Rising. That's unbelievable. It's incredible. I never thought that would happen. It wasn't my intent when I made the film. I just thought, especially the stuff that I had in there that I thought that I knew nobody had put in there up to that point was the stuff where they report Building 7 collapse when you can still clearly see it standing behind them. They knew in advance that it was going to come down. That, and they got put in a bunch of films afterwards. And then the stuff where where Paul Wolfowitz, I've told that story before about the Paul Wolfowitz clip. That really is an important story, though, because that was something I legitimately found. That was a legitimate piece of information that I found on my own that nobody else had found up to that point. And this was months before the film even came out. And again, back then I was still, I still thought Jones was trustworthy. I was still, Team Jones and all that stuff. And I remember sending it. And this is, again, you got to remember, this is before I found out about the CMP stuff. This is before, I knew what Jones was. So this was my first indicator. This was the first time I went, okay, something's up with this guy. He's not on the up and up. And that was because when I found this Paul Wolfowitz clip, and if you don't know the clip I'm referencing, it's in the film 9/11 New World Rising. And he's given a speech at West Point, to the graduating class of the Military Academy West Point. And this is just a few months before 9/11. This is like June 2001. And he's telling the best and brightest that the military has to offer that's now graduating, going into military service, that they need to get used to things happening, like events, attacks like Pearl Harbor happening on American soil. And they need to get ready and get used to this because they're going to happen. No matter how much intelligence and how much foreknowledge we have, they're going to happen, and there's nothing we can do about it. And they need to be prepared for things like this happening. And then just a few months later, boom, you have 9/11, and then of course you got Wolfowitz with his connection, Project for a New American Century, all that stuff. So I naively back then, before that film came out a few months, I can't remember, it was sometime in 2007. It was before I started the show or anything else. Again, I thought it was one big happy, truth movement family, and everybody was out for the same goals, and everybody just wanted the truth, and So what did I do? I sent the fucking clip to Jones. He was, I thought that was the play. I thought that was, I just said, I sent it to him, and I said, hey, this is a pretty important clip I found here. It's going to be in my new film. Can you please let people know about this? Maybe you want to have me on to talk about it, or something. But if not, just, hey, please let people know about this, and just let people know who found it. And it was within a couple of days, I think, maybe a week. I can't remember, maybe 2 or 3 days. I don't remember exactly how long. It wasn't long. I got no response back from not even a, hi, hello, fuck you, not a, okay, great, thank you, or hey, good job finding this, or nothing. A couple of days later, there it is. Jones is laying it out, talking about it on the show, posting it all over his website, and claiming that he's the one that found it in his research. And that's when I was like, okay. This guy, clearly, he's got no interest. He's just trying to build this thing for himself. So, a couple of weeks later, when I found out about the CMP stuff, and I started doing my due diligence and researching, it was as soon as I found out about the group, everything I needed to lead me to the truth of it just started appearing before my eyes, because I had never heard of the group. I'd asked people if they'd ever heard of the group. Nobody ever had. And that show with Peter Del Scott was on a Thursday. And by Saturday, when I was doing my news gathering for my Saturday show that I was doing at that time, lo and behold, there's a news story on Saturday, 2 days after I found out about this group. There's mainstream news stories all over the internet. Dick Cheney attends secretive right-wing group meeting in Utah of Council for National Policy, CNP, and it's all talking about it. And this is like 2 days. I couldn't believe it. And then I find, all these people that were current or past members, Jerome Corsi and all these other, fucking, what's his name? Paul Craig Roberts, fucking prune face from Deke Tracy. That's what I call him. That's what he looks like. Fucking Larry Pratt, and on and on and on. And I just got that, you get that sick feeling in the pit of your stomach. Man, I got it. I got that sick feeling in the pit of my stomach. Seeing all, Officer Jack McLam, and all these names of people that were regular guests at that time back then on the Alex Jones Show. And it just clicked for me instantly. I went, oh, fuck. Because that was really, at the time, for me, I tried not to think about it that much, but I guess it was always kind of in the back of my mind. But to me, that was like worst case scenario at that time for me, was finding out that, holy shit. You bust through one paradigm of control and you think you're finding like-minded individuals who are looking for the truth, and then you find out, wait a minute, this is just another arm of the control system. This is just another way to gatekeep people and corral people who are doing nothing more than searching for the truth. They knew this stuff was going to happen. They counted on it happening. So they could continually get away with this stuff by attaching the perceived alternative truth of world events and associating them with easily discreditable dupes like Alex Jones and others. And I knew right there what we were up against. And I got to tell you, man, it's never, like I talked about on yesterday's show, it's never been easy doing this work. But that was, I mean, it was impossible. I don't even know how I made it through that first year or whatever, first couple of years, because it was tough, man. Because, you know, you're just starting out. You just started your show last week. You know, this is how people looked at me. You just started your show last week, and right out of the gates, within the first fucking week of doing shows, you're getting up here and telling everybody, all your constituents and all the people that actually will listen to your show, you know, what 20 people I had listening at that time or whatever. You're actually going to get up here and tell them that, you know, Ron Paul and Alex Jones and all the shit that they're all behind right now is just another arm of the control system. It's all bullshit. I mean, I can't describe to you how tough it was. It was, nobody wanted to hear it. Literally nobody wanted to hear it. And the one thing that always helped me along and changed the tide eventually was that, you know, because you're always going to have people who, it doesn't matter how many facts you have, it doesn't matter how much proof you have about something, you're always going to have people who are going to deny whatever you're telling them just because they don't want to believe it. You know, there's a lot of that. A lot of people don't want to believe what you have to say, no matter how much truth there is in it. So that was one of those things where every person that actually, you know, as I always say and always encourage people to do their own research and look into stuff for themselves, but I was especially on that with this, like, hey, look into this. Like, just look into this for yourself. Look at these facts. Look at this. Look at these links. Look at this. You know, let's put another set of eyes on this. And every single person, you know, even if they were reluctant at first and didn't want to believe it, every single person that actually did take a look at the information and look at it went, oh, shit. And I had a lot of people, what was crazy too is I had a lot of people that were off air, you know, fellow radio hosts and different things like that. I had people off air who were 100% on board with it, 100% in agreement with me that this was something serious we need to be paying attention to. And they didn't want to rock the boat, and they didn't want to lose their platforms or positions. They didn't want to affect what people thought about them. So they just flat chose not to talk about it on their shows or mention it at all. And that became interesting to me. And I started, you know, how deep is this? How deep does this go? You know, I never dreamed, I had no idea when I first found out about it, it was as important and as big as it is. You know, I had no idea that what I'd stumbled onto was actually a CIA front group with all these splinter offshoot groups. And didn't understand why at first there were so many people who, I mean, certain people would get nervous as shit when you bring it up. Some people were nonchalant about it, like, oh yeah, I'm a member, of course, yeah, no big deal. And that's when I started learning about compartmentalization. And that's in any group. You know, you got people at the lowest levels, the middle levels, you know, mid to high levels, and then the upper echelon levels. And not everybody who's a member knows everything that's going on within any given organization, no matter which one it is. So you got a lot of people that are low-level people that pay whatever, a few $1,000s a year to be a member or whatever. And these are people who are just, you know, basically funding. There are a lot of people in the CMP that they don't know, they're not really involved in the upper echelons of it. But their yearly dues or whatever, what helps the operation stay funded. And then you got to remember they're a 501c3 group. I mean, political groups and stuff like that, almost never get 501c3 contribution status or tax exempt status. But the CMP has it. And, I started to see that, okay, you got so many, I mean, you got Bob Barr, all these, it took me years to figure out the whole CIA thing. How that's really the key thing of the group and why so many people get nervous when you bring it up. Same thing connects to John Birch Society, CIA all the way to the hilt. And then that started explaining to me the importance of the stuff I'd found, connecting to the Kennedy assassination and H.L. Hunt, and H.L. Hunt being connected to the John Birch Society, and the John Birch Society putting out the wanted for treason posters the day before the assassination here in Dallas. And then finding out that H.L. Hunt provided the startup money, the seed money for the CMP to Larry Pratt. And the first offices and the first meetings and stuff they had for the CMP were here in Dallas in the early 80s. And, of course, that led later to the stuff that I had in, of course, the Secret Right Volume 1 and Volume 2 films, and then in Spellcasters Volume 1. And finding those connections and learning that, oh, wait a minute, this is why they have gatekeepers, JFK. I started, when figuring out, this is why you had all these JFK gatekeepers, and then learning about the Scientology connection to the Kennedy assassination and how Kennedy had Scientology raided and had all their e-meters and all their things confiscated shortly before he was assassinated. And then the handwriting analysis that's been done that matches the supposed note that Oswald gave to Agent Hosty saying there was going to be an event in Dallas, an assassination attempt. And then the handwriting analysis shows that handwriting matches 100% L. Ron Hubbard's handwriting, and then finding all the connection to MK Ultra and, connection to Jim Mars, to Scientology, and of course, his book being made into the JFK film with Oliver Stone's connections to Scientology, and realizing that, oh, holy shit, on a PETA here, the whole entire conspiracy genre, whatever you want to call it, starting with the Kennedy assassination, was all that's why these people have Scientology connections. That's why the stuff that I put in the Spellcasters Volume 1 is so important. Because I show for the first time these connections to the truth movement and Scientology go to the core, and to the CIA go to the core. Scientology, truth movement, all this stuff, all CIA connected. These guys created this cottage industry of disinformation in order to keep the real truth from coming out, and thereby also creating this false belief that there's an underground, conspiracy movement of people who are seeking the truth, so that other people who are seeking the truth find those people. But in reality, they're just finding phony leaders again who are gatekeeping them from the truth. And that's really what I've been on the front lines of exposing here now for 11 years. That's been the main thing. And it's wild how much I've learned and how much more importance that this information has than I even knew it did when I first started finding out about it. And how deep the level of lies go that we've been subjected to. And how that permeates the so-called truth movement, conspiracy movement stuff. And it was all created as a phony belief system and a phony perception to lull the truth seekers, to lull the people that have, like me and you and others, that have those gut feelings that tell us when something like this happens, like a 9/11 or anything else, something's not right here. This is not what we're being told is. Even though you have no information to back it up, you just know it. Because it's a gut feeling. It's that instinct. You know what it is and what it isn't. And so that's why those people are there. And they got me. Thankfully, they didn't get me for very long. Couple of years, snapped out of it. A lot of you out there have that same story. Hey, look, listen, I've said it once, I've said it again. Doesn't matter that they got you. What matters is that you got out of it. I mean, luckily, I'm sure they exist. Luckily, though, I've never met one, because I don't know if I would be rational with one. But you ever know, so you don't find people who, you really don't find or hear of people who have been Alex Jones fans for 10, 15 years. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Eventually, most people snap out of it. Again, I'm not saying those people don't exist. Sure, they do. But luckily, but the problem is that, again, that's why the guy is so dangerous. That's why I spent so much time exposing not just him, but the machinations around him and these secretive groups around him and showing these connections, because that's what makes it important. It makes you understand why you need to be paying attention to it. But, again, what else is dangerous about it is that some people, I've seen this happen too. The other negative side effect of that is that some people, when they figure out Jones is bullshit and they figure out Jones is a fraud, then it makes them think that everybody else is too. And again, that's another thing they count on. They want that. They count on that to happen, because then, if you think that, because right there it stops people search for truth. A lot of people stop their search for truth. They found out Jones is a fraud. They find out a lot of what he talks about might be true, but a lot of it isn't. And it's mixed with all this other agenda stuff. And then now, of course, being 100% partisan Republican news outlet, while somehow still claiming to be not left or right, it's just the most ridiculous Orwellian mind fuck you can imagine. But really what it is he's using the tactics of evil on a microcosmic scale and thinking people are too stupid to notice. And a lot of people are. But, that's the thing. There's so many negatives to that, because, just stopping your search for truth altogether because you get some asshat disinfo clown like Jones. I mean, it's been very difficult. I tell you, I don't know. It's just amazing. The whole thing with, I mean, folks, this is 11 years. I've been here for 11 years. This is my 11th year broadcasting. There's not very many people. You can really count them on one hand who could say that. I mean, you realize when I started podcasting, it wasn't even a thing yet. They didn't even call it podcasting yet. It wasn't even a thing. I started out on, 32K, 16K, 64. I think finally one time we got up to 64K. And it was like, oh my God, listen to how good that sounds. Shoutcast streams and uploading MP3s to servers, and bandwidth was unbelievable. Now you got all these podcast hosting sites, and you pay a monthly fee and upload your shit to it, and it's easy action. But it was not in the early days. That's why there's so. I have a lot of my early shows, and a lot of my early stuff is out there on the internet. But that's why there's a lot that isn't, because it just wasn't as easy to store stuff and get it out to people back then. So after after I put out 9/11 New World Rising, I spent a couple of years researching the CMP stuff, and that culminated in the 2009 release of my second film, The Secret Right Volume 1. And, listen, those first two films, admittedly, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing at all. And my first two films are not great. They're not. They're just data dumps, really. But still important. The Secret Right Volume 1 is an important film just because it was the first film that was ever made. It was the first film that was ever made on the Council for National Policy. No one else had even made a film about it yet. So it's, it was important, but I did not know quite yet. I just wanted to get a film and get out there and get the awareness going. That was really the intent and purpose of that film, because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I didn't know how to make films yet. I was still learning, nobody ever taught me. I learned everything I've ever learned about making films. I've learned on my own by just doing it. And, so the Secret Right Volume 1, there's a lot of important info in there. I talked about this not too long ago. about how I intentionally, didn't mention Alex Jones in the first one. But then in the second one, that's where you get into what. The second one was a quantum leap. I mean, The Secret Right Volume 2 was really a quantum leap. And I think that was kind of that was my first really proper film that I made that actually had, some skill and some production value. And I had learned so much between Volume 1 in 2009, The Secret Right, and Volume 2 in 2011. I learned so much from the process of that it really came through. And, again, I still don't feel like I've made the ultimate film on the CMP, but I will. I mean, that's coming. I hope next year. My goal next year for 2019, since that will be the 10-year anniversary of The Secret Right Volume 1, I'm hoping to be able to put out what I'm kind of loosely calling, it's you could kind of consider it Volume 3 of The Secret Right, but I'm not going to call it Volume 3. I'm just going to call it the Ultimate Edition. So I'll basically just take, to me, I'm going to try to make the best, the film I couldn't make for Volume 1 and Volume 2 when I made those films on the CMP. I'm going to try and make the best edition with the best info and, put together and with a new perspective, with the perspective that I have on that now, and with all the things that have happened, and especially all the CMP stuff that's come out and all the new information we found out about since then. I mean, there's been a ton of new stuff. And how much the awareness has gone up, and that's one of the most things I'm most proud of. Yes, there were people who were, they didn't have radio shows and they didn't put out films, but there were some very obscure researchers on the internet before me who had been looking into the CMP, but they had never really done anything big with it. But I single-handedly put the CMP, the Council for National Policy, into the conversation. I single-handedly put that into the conspiracy research nomenclature. It wasn't there before I came along. And now people know about the group that don't even know about my work and don't even know that I'm the one that did it. That's hilarious. That's when you made an impact. There have been people who have taken my work verbatim and quoted it right out of my movies, not giving me credit, and tried to build careers off of it. Of course, they've gone nowhere and failed, but still, I mean, that was a huge accomplishment. And of course, I've made a bunch of mini films and other stuff too that I'm glad I did. But when I got into doing I really love the Lost Secrets of Ancient America films, and I love the fact that, I think it's very important if you're going to do this kind of stuff to focus all your energy as hard as you can on a specific topic for as long as you can, get all the best, all the data you can, get it out, and then move on to something else. Because you can get hung up in this stuff, man. You can get too far in the weeds and everything else, and then you don't see all these other things that are happening and going on. I do want to do the finish. I've got about 60% of it shot that we shot back in 2014. I do at some point want to finish that Volume 3 and put that out too, because there's just a lot more stuff that I found out that we've never even put out there. So, the Lost Secrets of Ancient America Volume 1 was actually my most successful film to date. Hopefully I'll have another one that'll be more successful than that one. But man, that one, we still sell downloads pretty regularly, at least a couple a month of that film. It still sells. I still get emails and stuff about it. And then Volume 2, which is one of my favorite films of the Lost Secrets of Ancient America. I really love that film. But, I don't know. It was just it was bad timing. A lot of weird timing with that stuff, stuff out of my control. So that one didn't sell as much as the other ones did, but it's a great film, and it's got some great information in it. And So yeah, I was, very excited to get away from the CMP stuff for a while when I did the Lost Secrets of Ancient America films, and it was a nice break there for a couple of years to get away from that stuff. So when I started wanting to do a series of films on Hollywood and the music industry and stuff, which ultimately has culminated in the Spellcaster series, I was excited about that because that's something I've wanted to work on for many. It's an idea for a film I've had for even before I was on air, on the radio, or anything else. And it's one of the reasons why it's taken so long to do this, because there's so much information. You could make 10 films, trying to condense it all down and all the rest of it. It's very difficult. But again, it was a film series where I didn't think I didn't think any things I'd covered or talked about previously would have played in, but it did. It played right. I mean, all the stuff that I found out and exposed in Volume 1, like I talked about earlier, the connections to the Truth Movement, the CMP stuff, and CMP connections, the Scientology connections there. I just never dreamed that it would all. And that's when you start to realize, as I've talked about many times, it doesn't matter what subject you choose to get into with this stuff. It's all interconnected. It all connects back to the same thing. So I'm just grateful to everybody out there. I'm grateful that you all continue to support my work. I want to do some shout outs here real quick for people who contributed to our fundraiser today. Let's start out with Colin. Shout out to Colin. Kevin, shout out to Kevin. Meredith contributed also. Thank you very much, Meredith. Who else? Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Shout out to Jeff for contributing. Bjorn. Thank you, Bjorn. Shout out my man. Bjorn's been a long time supporter of mine for many years. So thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. Who else? Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer. And Rebecca. Thank you, Rebecca. So shout out. Those are people who contributed since yesterday's show. If you saw yesterday's show, you saw that I wanted to let you know we still do have our prize packs are still available. They'll be available until, I said till midnight tonight, but if you're hearing this past midnight, if you're hearing this during the day on Thursday or watching this or hearing this during the day on Thursday, and you want to get claim one of the prizes, just shoot me an email, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. I'll let you know if if it's past midnight and nobody's claimed it and you want it, we can work something out. Just email me, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. You can check out those prizes up on our Facebook page, the Global Reality Radio Network page, and the Josh Reeves Filmmaker Talk Show Host Explorer page. And we've got one prize for a 300 contribution and the other mega prize for 500 or more contributions. So definitely go and check that out. Our goal was to raise 800 by the end of the day today, and then the rest for our operating costs by Monday. So we still need about 600 today to reach our goal. But hey, listen, those two prizes are great. Somebody needs to claim those. Looks like the video is about to go off here. I haven't done this video part of this in a while, so I didn't really have the video charge. So we'll just have partial video here. So if it shuts off here in a minute, you'll still hear the audio. But I just want to get down here and do some video for you guys for a little bit as well. What else was I going to say? What else do I want to? The audiobooks too. We've got that audiobook deal I talked about yesterday going on, so you definitely want to get one of those. But that was the other part of this thing that, part of my work that I've done that was an unexpected thing. And listen, it's crazy that how many people started doing that didn't do it before. There was nobody, before I started doing it, there was nobody reading books on air, on radio shows, There just wasn't. And now it's like a regular thing. It's become like a thing now. And still one of the biggest things that I've ever done, bigger than any of my movies or anything else, was those, the Lost Book of Enki reading. It's crazy. And, yeah, that was just huge. But, it's funny how that audiobook, reading that audiobook thing started. Because it kind of came at a time when I was doing, man, I used to do just way too much radio. Way too much. There's no reason why. And I kind of burnt myself out because I was doing too much. I mean, I was trying to compete with Jones, and I was trying to give him a run for his money. So for a couple of years there, I was doing my show the same time as his. I was doing like 11 to 3 Monday through Friday, like 3 or 4 hour shows. It's ridiculous. And, it didn't amount to anything. You know what I mean? It didn't have any more impact than doing 3 shows a week. It just flat didn't. But that's one of the main things you learn. But where that audiobook reading thing came from was that I got sick and tired. So I was doing so much radio back then. And, eventually there's only so many news stories you can cover. And when you get in times like an election cycle, which I've been in like 3 of them now, I guess, in the history of this radio show. The first one we had was when Bush was going. I came on right when Bush was about to go out, when Obama was coming in. So we had that one. Then we had the second term of Obama, had that campaign, and then the one with Trump. So yeah, 3 election cycles I've been through, and it's the same way every time. All the news starts revolving around the election bullshit, and everybody else goes to sleep on everything else, so there's no news to cover. So I just got frustrated and was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to read this book. I think the first one I did was, the very first one I did was The Finding of the Third Eye, which was a book I read when I was younger and had an impact on me. So I read the book and then later did another reading of it. And it was interesting doing the second one because, I had learned more things that had more perspective between the first time I read it and the second time. So if you get that audiobook box set that I told you about, both versions are in that. And I still do. People say, oh, you need to do more audiobooks. The thing is, there are only so many books you can do. Not every book is conducive to being read aloud and being put out in audiobook form. Believe me. Anytime I find one that's good to do, I do it. It's not one of those things that you can have done. Believe me, if there were plenty of books to do, I would do it, but there just aren't that many, especially when you think about the type of content and whatnot that I do here. You narrow that down. That's a small amount. And then you get down to even smaller amounts, thinking, how much stuff is actually even be able to be read on air. But there's so many people all the time. I get emails, oh, you should do more audiobooks. And I go, well, over the past 3 or 4 years, I've put out 3 in the audiobook store and people just ignore them. I mean, we've got, 3, I think that the 3 I've done the past few years are some of the better ones, if not the best ones I've ever done. The, Atlantis and the Giants, and Our Story of Atlantis, and then the newest one, the Covert War on Rock, which is a great compendium to the Spellcasters 2 and 3. You definitely want to hear that if you haven't heard it yet. But listen, as I talked about yesterday, the main thing is that, this is... Again, not too many shows can say they've been on air continuously for 11 years, especially not a conspiracy show. And just that fact alone is a testament to the work that I've done here, and a testament to you, the listeners, and all the people out there that have helped me make it this far. And, we're so close to the finish line now, finally, on Spellcasters 2. And then it'll take a couple, 2-3 weeks after that for Volume 3 to come out. But we're so close now, finally, to the finish line of this film, and I'm so super excited for it to come out for you guys to see it. But again, 11 years hasn't been possible without you, and the next week won't be possible without you. So please dig deep, and please help us celebrate here. Here's to many more. Here's, I raise my glass to you. You raise your glass to me. It's easy to dwell on the negative. It's easy to, and listen, I could have given up and dwelled in the negative years ago. One of my main usual regular things that I do on the regular is every day I'm trying to keep myself as positive as I can. It's tough. It's tough to be positive. It's easy as shit to be negative. That's an easy emotion. That's an easy thing. It's easy to get down on yourself. It's easy to doubt yourself. It's easy to think that, everybody else has it good and your life is shit. And it's easy to think that, nothing you do will ever amount to jack shit. All those are easy things to do. And I could very easily, given into that and succumb to that long ago, but I haven't. Because the bottom line is, folks, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but all I know is this is what I was put on this earth to do. And in the 11 years since I've been doing it, I've been researching long before that, but doing it in the public eye now for 11 years, making films, doing radio shows and stuff. The amount of times, so many I can't even name them. The amount of times that I've had reaffirmations that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and this is what I've been put here to do. The amount of times I've had those reaffirmations has just been mind-blowing, and it's the reason I'm still here. And listen, I know if I thought there was no hope, I would have given up long ago. I believe there's hope, and the reason I have any kind of hope, honest to God, is because of you. Those of you out there that really, truly get what I'm trying to do here and really, truly have a grasp on the information. There's so many of you out there. I'm grateful for each and every one of you. I don't give a fuck if it's small. Anything small can grow. Anything small can get bigger. Nothing stays small forever. But just the fact that we have a small amount of people, no matter how small or large it may be, but we have an amount of people, it's something that what you and I have been able to do here and what we've been able to do with these films, it really is something. It's important. And it may not have as much weight now as it will in the future, but that doesn't mean you don't do it or you give up or you stop or anything else, Believe me, it's tough. And believe me, I want to give up all the time. I can't tell you how many times during the course of working on my latest films that I've said over and over again, God damn it, I wish I would have never taken this project on. Because it seems sometimes like an insurmountable fucking task. It seems like, it almost damn near seems impossible. And then another mountain moves. A little bit more progress is made. I get a little bit of support from you out there in the audience. That reaffirms it. No, I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is what I was put here to do. And I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt, as stupid as it may sound to some of you, I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that some of you were also put here and found my work for a reason. And some of you were put here to be a part of what I'm doing. I believe that. I believe that beyond a shadow of a doubt. You guys have proven it to me. You know who you are out there. There's a lot of you out there from the past 11 years. Those of you who, people who've contributed, people, who've come in at the last minute, whatever it may be. It's not just me. I wasn't the only one that was put here to do this. A lot of you out there were put here to do this too. And even if it's just contributing financially to my work, that's contributing. It's allowing this to happen. It's allowing my mission, why I was put here on this earth to do. It's allowing it to happen. And by that makes you a part of it. And it makes you put here to do it too. Because think about all the things that had to happen. You know, you by chance finding my work. You by chance finding, out what I've done. I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten from people like, oh my God, I thought there was nobody else out there that thought like me. Holy shit. At least at least there's the fact that there's somebody else out there that thinks the way I do and wants to change things like this and is trying to expose things nobody else is. Man, it gives me hope. I get those emails all the time, man. Again, it's one of those things where you no matter how much the task at hand might seem insurmountable, when you understand that, you can't give up. And I'm asking all of you out there not to give up either. We're so close now. I'm within a week or less of having Spellcasters 2 done. But again, I got to live and survive and got to make it that far, and we got to reach 100% of our operating costs to be able to do that. So don't give up now. We're about to cross this finish line. We're going to cross it together. And I honestly believe that. There are a lot of, I'm telling you, you may not know it, you may not see it now, but there are a lot of, just as I was put here to do this, there were a lot of you out there that were put here to do this too, but just in a different way. You weren't put here to, I'm the guy that has to do the fucking heavy lifting as far as the voice and the work and the films and, the research and all this stuff, but there are all you out there who have other tasks and things in this, and you're a part of it too. That's why I always say support our work. People always ask me about that all the time. I get emails. You say, oh, I'm a one-man show, one-man operation, but you always say support our work, right? Because it's mine and yours. When you support it and you put money towards it and you help me be able to make these films and cover the operating costs and do all this stuff and survive another month and keep going and to be here 11 years, that's a group effort, man. And it's not a follow the leader thing. I used to have this saying I came up with very early in the show. I haven't said it in a long time on the show, but it's a thing I've always kept for myself in this is lead no one and follow only yourself. I don't want to lead anybody. I'm not a leader. I'm not rallying the troops for a fucking revolution or anything, but guess what? Sometimes those things happen by themselves automatically when you get enough people behind something. And you don't have to have a leader or a fucking bunch of followers and a bunch of brainwashed cronies. I don't want a bunch of fucking brainwashed cronies. I'm glad we have so many free thinkers, people that actually think for themselves and do their own thinking and research on this stuff. There just aren't enough people out there that have the same belief system and whatnot as me, and people that are easily led down other paths, and they get fucking, they just get deceived and they get caught up in the wrong things. And, I've never strayed from my original mission here, and I never will. So again, thank you to everybody out there. It's a big thing we've made this far. 11 years is huge. And we're about to cross the finish line with a couple of new films. So if you want to claim one of those prizes, either the $300 or the $500 prize, go check them out. They're on the Global Reality and Facebook page. Anyway, let's get that needle to move and get this war chest built. Because like I told you yesterday, folks, stuff's happening more and more and accelerating more and more every day. And I feel that what I do and what I'm going to continue to do here is more important right now on September 26, 2018 than it's ever been. And it's going to continue to be that way with what they're going to continue to throw at us. And I can't do it without you. So hit up our fundraiser. Let's Jerry Lewis telethon this motherfucker. Just throw everything you can throw at it. Let's get this done, and let's cross the finish line, and let's kick these motherfuckers in the goddamn teeth. You with me? I love you guys. We'll talk again soon. Take care.